I do not have any amendments.
And are there any conflicts of interest to the agenda items?
No.
Anyone else on the committee have a conflict? Okay, take that as a no. So can we have a vote to, or can we have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Can we have a second?
What, is that Mike?
Jeffrey, Mike, Daniel?
I don't think I can hear you, Mike, but I can see your lips moving. I was recording that as a second in my mind.
Okay. With that, we will use the agenda as it was submitted, and I'm trying to find it on my phone. Okay. So first, we're going to talk about the project updates. Ivy, will you be handling that for us?
Yes, actually, I have the first two items. And I
Okay,
can get started if you're ready for me.
that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to give a quick update on the road improvement projects. We've proceeded in sort of three groups. Group one completes needed improvements that were identified in the 2020 townwide road condition assessment, which informed the road improvement program in calendar years 2021 and 2025. So actually, the last scope of work identified in that assessment included resurfacing just two roadways, 48th and 49th, both north and south of MD 210 or 410. I'm in another part of the county, and 410, and the rest in category two or group two are new curb ramps and crosswalks, road markings and speed humps, and new and repaired sidewalks, largely in high pedestrian areas in town, primarily east of the river and along Riverdale Road primarily. And then group three are road safety improvements that this body recommended on Riverdale Road. Specifically two raised crossings, one at 54th and Riverdale Road and the other at Taylor and Riverdale Road, excuse me, a raised crosswalk at Tanglewood Drive and at the bike crossing, and then a new crosswalk at 49th and 48th at Riverdale Road. New stop signs at southbound Lafayette and striping of the site triangle and curb adjacent to 250 Barbecue. Categories or groups one and two projects are nearly complete, with the balance of work expected to be completed in mid-December. Improvements along Riverdale Road will also begin this month, except for the raised intersection at 54th and at Taylor. I met with the project engineers and contractor today, and both locations have challenges meeting county standards for curb ramps due to stormwater inlets and manholes and other obstructions. We agreed that we need a right-of-way survey and to have the project engineers design the ramp at each corner. The engineers thought initially that the contractor could just follow county specs for curb ramps, but because of, we have in one case, I believe at 54th, an inlet that's blocking our ability to provide the curb ramp at the standard width. So we're gonna have to dig a little deeper and spend a little more time sort of understanding where the town's right-of-way boundaries are, and then again to have the engineers design the ramp at each corner. We're going to proceed with this work and cover this cost under the Safe Streets for All project. So this work will be probably a couple of months off before we see any work in that regard. We will proceed with the crossing, the raised crosswalk at the bike path and at Tanglewood, and the crosswalks at 48th and 49th, and of course, the improvements that we talked about at Riverdale Road and Lafayette, including a new stop signs on southbound Lafayette, and then striping the site triangle and painting the curb adjacent to 250 Barbecue. We will keep you posted or provide an update at future meeting. I would like to also share that we are looking into scheduling a new townwide road condition assessment in 2028 using AI-powered technology to assess and map existing infrastructure condition, including the condition of roads, sidewalks, curb ramps, crosswalks and traffic sign, and really a host of other data points. I think there are about 35 pieces of data that can be collected through this technology. I've had a demonstration from 2 companies. We've asked for cost estimates, and we need to find the funds to cover the cost of this work. We did the robotics, or we used robotics, a technology that we learned about 5 years ago. That technology was brought out, I think, by a car company, an automobile company, but I believe they've killed the program. Since then, there are 2 others that we've learned about, and the technology has advanced quite a bit with the use of AI technology. So we'll have a lot of information through this assessment, a lot more than we had through the previous application. We're also seeking to revise the town's speed hump policy, which currently only address requests from residents on speed humps. Thank you, Dan. You gave us an article, a link to a couple of articles on speed humps. Were very encouraging and showing that municipalities are actually taking the lead and not waiting for their residents to ask for these safety measures. We're also looking to develop an infrastructure maintenance policy to clarify the town standards and then the types of repairs that are based on varying conditions. We get some pushback at times when we have disjointed sidewalks and we choose to sort of grind them down to maintain a safe passage. Residents are not happy with that approach. It's functionally safe and will extend the life of the sidewalks. Also, when we use crack sealing to seal cracks, residents think that's unsightly and they would rather have the road resurfaced. Well, that's a lot of expense for that road condition, which can be stabilized with the sealant. And so with that, we will look for your input on the draft policy statements when they're completed. And with that, I'll take questions. Excuse me, I don't know where my voice is today. Any questions on the projects?
Melissa has her hand up.
Okay, I can't see. Mhm.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
sure.
What companies were you looking at for collecting asset data?
One is Civil Solutions, and I forget the name of the second one. Give me a minute and to find the emails. Yeah, I'll need a minute to find the name. I think I'm confusing it in my head with another company. But yeah, are you familiar with Civil Solutions? It's
not.
CYVL Solutions. Mhm.
And
It's what?
It spells CY. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Solutions.
and that's something that we could update the group on by email if you don't have it at your fingertips, Ivy.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
The only question I'm going to ask you to clarify, Ivy, did you say in fiscal 28 or will it be in fiscal 27?
It's actually, we hope to buy the software and do the road assessment in 2026 calendar year.
Okay.
2026.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
We usually do that this time of year, or did it when we used robotics, but we've gotten a little behind just trying to get this year's work program done, or road projects completed.
And
But we would need that information to determine where the new priorities are.
And do these companies collect accessibility data as they go along, or is it just saying there's a curb ramp here or there's a stop sign here?
Well, it will certainly identify where the curb ramps are and their condition. It won't identify the absence of. Not as distinctly, yeah.
Does it collect like sidewalk widths and heaves and those types of things?
That's what I understand. Sidewalk dimensions and existing conditions.
Okay.
It's very sophisticated, light years ahead of robotics. And I guess the technology in that 5 years has advanced to that extent.
Yes, it has. There are a lot of good companies out there. Thank you.
Mhm.
I had a question, Ivy. I missed what you said when you were talking about grinding the raised corners on the sidewalks. Did you say that residents were satisfied or were not satisfied?
We're not satisfied,
not
at least
satisfied.
in one community where we did sort of a comprehensive sidewalk repair program where in many cases, we simply shaved down the edges of the sidewalk to level them out.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, I think it was the summer before Director Lewis started with us. We had about 400 locations throughout the town that we had a firm go through, and if the offset, I don't recall off the top of my head what how much they can grind down, but if the offset exceeded a certain amount, then we would replace the slab. But if it
Right.
was a lower offset,
Mhm.
they were able to go in with concrete grinders, grind it down to eliminate the hazard.
So those were done in my neighborhood, and many of those have heaved again from tree roots and other things.
Yep.
So that's what's causing the problem largely throughout town. There is a product out there that we were introduced to a couple of years ago. It's expensive, but it is effective, I understand, at preventing that. But it's a rubberized material that would replace the concrete sidewalk
Yeah, they
where
use something.
that heaving
Oh,
is occurring. I'm sorry.
I said they use that in a lot of places in the district, I know, and have seen those. I think the challenges are that they can feel uneven and a little unstable. But I do understand the kind of the sustainability of that treatment as opposed to like continually coming back, or it's like take the tree, which
Right.
either saw the tree roots or take a tree out, which of course we don't want to be just cutting
Right.
trees down either. So
Right.
but yeah, I will say I have a tendency I have a knack for finding those raised sections of sidewalks. So me and my dog have a good history of finding those. So
Okay.
I'll try to let you know you probably know where those are.
But we certainly will know through the survey. They have the material in use across from Joe's Emporium in Mount Rainier. It's a little squishy to walk on. I get your point. Yeah.
I think it's probably a product called FlexiPave or something similar.
That sounds familiar. In fact, I have a sample of it here somewhere.
The district uses it a lot. Mike was right. You can find a lot of places where they've used it.
And I don't have a lot of experience with it. Where you've seen it, is it holding up over time?
So what I have seen is it's still permeable for water.
Yes.
So the roots don't grow as quickly, but they will still move they'll still move that material.
Mhm.
But it's because it's flexible, it's a little easier. It's less of a tripping hazard than just it's not accessible from a slope requirement once it starts moving. But it's not so much a trip and fall hazard.
Yeah, the tree roots will still win,
Yeah.
but the edges are a little softer. But yeah, it would be interesting to see about trying that. It doesn't the root sorry, no pun intended, but the root cause of the problem is still there. So you're kind of just that different treatment can make a difference. Sorry to get us sidetracked. I just thought I would ask about people's satisfaction with that. I think it's a pretty clever way to extend the life of the sidewalks, but understand that, it's not a permanent fix either.
Well, and if I can add, as we bring that section to a close, we have to, and I think this committee understands, we have to be looking at our budget and what we can afford. And if there's a way to address a hazard, whether the residents like the look or not, we have to figure out the work plan and what we can do each year. And the same with the crack sealing of the roadways. It can extend the life of a road for years to crack seal. And if we had to overlay every street that had that type of cracking, the town would have to take on really significant debt. And that's not the way for us to find a good maintenance and replacement schedule moving forward.
And it's actually overkill.
Yeah.
It's a simple crack.
That's what I thought about 48th Street. Sorry, but there are other maintenance methods too for asphalt. I mean, you can do a slurry seal.
Slurry seal, yep.
That, and I mean, seal cracks, and then to make everybody happy, paint it black and looks new.
And the engineers provide their advice on the best treatment.
Yeah. But the best and the most affordable are not always the same.
Exactly.
Well, with the marching orders the engineers have, it's the best, including cost considerations.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll just throw in that I also appreciated when the town ground down some of those trip hazards. It was nice to not be tripping over them. So the aesthetics, I did not really notice anything aesthetically offsetting about it, but I did appreciate not tripping with my dog as much as Mike said.
Well, we certainly can bring a firm back and go through and grind down sidewalks.
And I just, Ivy, I appreciate the update on Riverdale Road and understand the raised intersections are going to be delayed a little bit, and that's helpful to understand why and what's happening, and that the other pieces will be coming together. One question I had that was kind of related to, I think, what Daniel raised last week is when we see some of the other improvements, it seems like they're being done in phases. Maybe is there a kind of a general, I know there's a lot of moving pieces, but a general time frame, like I think Madison, the sidewalk was redone, but it looked like maybe it was going to be repaved or something was going to happen there, and it wasn't quite clear if there's like a rough timeline on some of those projects.
So
when something's finished, like how to know when something's finished versus just, there's more work to be done.
Yeah, this is probably certainly the largest number, and then a lot of small projects are a part of this year's program. So I've had a difficult time sort of keeping up with a raised crosswalk here and a curb ramp there. That's why we had the meeting today to catch up and then to find out sort of what the schedule is going to be over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So they're pretty confident that except for the raised intersections on Riverdale Road, that they'll complete all of this year's project by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions on road projects? Madam Chair, I could go into the next item if you're ready.
That would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, this is actually the Lafayette and 47th Avenue streetlight project. This is the town's third streetlight project in 3 years, and it includes the installation of 13 town-owned pedestrian-style lights on the east side of Lafayette from Riverdale Road to Nicholson, and lights on 10 Pepco poles between Nicholson and Chief Chris Kyle Court. The project is getting underway this week and is expected to also be completed in December, mid-December. And we learned recently and are happy about it that we do not need a county permit to install lights in the town's right of way. right of way. So that we are able to move a lot faster on this project as a result of that. We will seek to fund the Pepco lights to be brought this issue before this body at the last meeting. A way to fund it. We now believe we can fund it out of the street light acquisition CIP project, and we'll be taking that proposal to council within the next month or so. And with that, I'll take questions. Pretty simple project. It's going to mean a lot to the residents on that block or that street, because on the west side of the street is the tracks, and the tree line area is really blocking any ambient light that would get to this block. So this street lighting project is very important to that community.
Is that the area we saw in the town walk a few months ago?
No, that's the one that we completed
Okay.
a couple of years ago. This one is on Lafayette from Riverdale Road to Nicholson. So right adjacent to the tracks.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. There are no questions. We can move on to Natoli Place.
Good
Jessica, are you-
evening.
yeah,
Yep,
okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it's a mini update, but it's an important update. So the mayor and council approved the recommended design concepts, moving forward with the recommended design concepts. And then moving into the next phase were the conversations that needed to happen with CSX. And so in order to move forward with those meetings, we met with them in over a year ago initially, and now having some design concepts, we're able to have some more fruitful discussions with CSX, and that meeting is actually scheduled for either the end of this week or the beginning of next. So by the time the committee meets again, there will be some more substantial updates, but I just wanted to make sure that we had that on your radar. It's a very large project, and it's moving forward with the very important conversations with CSX. So that was really the update on this project, and please let me know if you have any questions. We'll have Rod here who can answer more technical questions at the next meeting.
Okay. Glad to hear you guys are working with CSX already, because that's always a challenge.
Certainly.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're actually quite pleased with their response. It was an email, and they pulled their staff together, and we're getting a meeting scheduled. So I'm not suggesting that it's going to go quickly with them, but their initial response is a good indication that that they'll at least try to play nice.
Well, that's good to hear. Okay. So still no questions. So I believe this is probably Chief Turner to talk to us about stop signs and red light enforcement.
Yes, ma'am. First off, good evening. As you know, the town council recently approved the legislation for the stop sign cameras. I want to say thank you to this body, for the members that reached out and helped with the approval. Thank you very much. We're in the process now of developing an RFP to select a vendor. And once that is concluded, we'll move into location determination, and then we'll submit our approval to the county. And that usually takes anywhere 4 to 6 weeks for approval with the holidays and things coming up. I figure at best, this would probably be implemented maybe in the spring. Is there any questions on the stop sign camera stuff?
I would say that as you're choosing locations, or after you've chosen locations, make sure all your crosswalk markings and stop bars are in the correct location before you start citing people or calibrating your cameras, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will. And for the location determination, we will be using accident data, observation from our enforcement, and resident input as well.
Cool.
any other questions on the stop signs, cameras?
I was just gonna raise, and I think this came up in an email chain. Can't remember if we discussed it in one of these meetings before, but one thing just to keep an eye on is there are a lot of privacy concerns right now about some of the vendors that are operating in this space. In a lot of cases, and certainly I'm not an expert on this, but certainly the perception is that they're sharing information with immigration officials and are, you know, using license plate matching and all kinds of stuff. So I raise that only to make sure that this is going to come up.
Sure, I can address
and
that.
it could, yeah, no, and I was just gonna say, it's gonna come up, and I think it's, some people have extremely strong opinions on it. And the environment we're operating in right now is sometimes not conducive to nuance. And I just wanted to bring that up because I do have a strong feeling that that's gonna be a potential issue for the project. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. So Maryland has some of the strictest laws in the country, right? So even prior to new legislation, any data that's collected through any of our automated enforcement is owned by the town. It cannot be released. If we were to receive a subpoena for the information, that subpoena has to come to us. We have to authorize the release. There's no data sharing with any of our automated enforcement. I think what the misconception there is license plate readers, and we are regulated in Maryland through MCAC. So all the data is housed by the state of Maryland. We don't share, we don't use a vendor that shares information with federal law enforcement for any of our, whether it's license plate readers or automated enforcement. And with the new legislation, we can't share that data, and we can only be used for criminal investigations or for traffic enforcement. And we have to, and the data gets purged. So if a citation is issued and is contested in court, once the court date's over, the information is purged. They don't want to store it because obviously it takes up a lot of room. So hopefully that answers and relieves some of the concerns. And I do know for the cameras themselves, even for the stop sign cameras, they're purposely angled so they don't pick up like residential properties. It'll only be on the street. So I'm sorry, John.
Well, I'm just going to add, I've seen the media accounts, and I've heard from some folks that expressed the concerns you're talking about, Mike. And but I think here in Riverdale Park, those concerns are not well. I'll just say they're valid concerns, but those circumstances that you read about, like it happened in Texas or in Oklahoma, that's not going to happen here in Maryland. And part of that's because of the legislation. And then in conversation with the council, I was asked, well, how are we going to ensure a company will comply with the law? And what I suggested was that we'll work with our attorneys to have liquidated damages added to the agreement. So if someone were to violate the law, in addition to any penalties from violating that law, there would be liquidated damages owed. And I think these firms want to continue their service, so I don't think we'll have an issue. But if an issue occurred, that's an added weight to encourage them to follow the law. And I think that's about as safe as we can be.
Yeah, I think the company that is most been named as Flock
Yes.
And I actually noticed a flock camera going up on Decatur Street at where the trail crosses in Edmonston. Just
Interesting.
the other
Correct.
day. Now, whether it was actually a flock camera or whether flock was being contracted to do something, I have no idea. But just an odd sighting, and I know they're at all the Home Depots and Lowe's, but I actually didn't know about this. But this is, I think that the opinions and the sensitivity to this is getting much, much stronger and not weaker. And so just thought I'd raise it because I do know that y'all are watching out for us, but I just, thought I would raise that because it's I think that the alternative that some folks are looking at is let's just kill all the cameras. And I don't think that's the right answer either. So it sounds like y'all have a great pulse on this. So thank you.
Actually, Maryland does. I mean, we won't have to worry about the data sharing because of MCAC. And we do not use flock cameras. The tag readers we have are LSAG. They were the first ones approved in the state of Maryland, and they've never had an issue. Even if we need data from an LPR, we have to submit a request to the state to swift information listing the type of crime, why we need it. We can't just randomly check a tag to see if it hit an LPR camera at the Bay Bridge. Usually it's like a carjacked vehicle, a missing person, like an Amber Alert, things like that. It's very important that we don't get ahead of ourselves because there's a lot of positive reasons for these cameras. So, thank you.
So given our current atmosphere, I mean, I agree with everything Mike said, and I am very appreciative that you guys are cognizant of the issues. My concern would be what's considered criminal these days, and that something could be pulled and subpoenaed that under the guise of being criminal, not instigated by the town, but by someone else. Does the request have to, it has to come through the town? It can't just come from the state or some other administrative body?
So I need to know specifically if we're talking about automated enforcement or what are we talking about?
Either license plate readers or the automated enforcement. Things that,
So
well, we know what we're talking about that we're not saying. Things that might go there.
I think I'm confused.
Well, Rob, let's just be blunt. I think the question is whether or not for civil immigration enforcement, whether or not information from automated enforcement cameras would be made available.
No, it would be illegal.
Even if it were determined to be an illegal activity by another administrative body. So
immigration enforcement on a surface is civil. If it's a criminal immigration enforcement, that's completely different, right?
Yeah.
We could have that, but that's rare.
Okay.
So when it comes to immigration enforcement, if it's criminal in nature, then the town is involved. We are authorized to act. That's a crime. Civil in nature, we do not participate and will not. Obviously it's illegal. There's standards in Maryland that we're regulated by that we cannot. A subpoena for I've never seen one, right? So we've never seen a subpoena for civil immigration enforcement. I don't think it would be issued by our courts in Maryland.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
At least I know you guys are looking out for everybody's best interest. So appreciate it.
We certainly are.
Absolutely. Are we ready to move to the next topic or we have more questions?
Thanks for the update, Chief Turner, and appreciate the kind of general guess as to how long it will take for all the approvals to go through. When you all make a determination on the locations, will that be posted publicly, and will we have a chance to provide any input on that, or suggestions or things? Should we send suggestions, or is it solely based on crash data or something along those lines?
No, I think we're open to suggestions, yes, especially from this body. I mean, that's what we're here to discuss. And yes, we will publish it. It will be on our website as well. We're not there to hide them. We're just trying to gain compliance, right? So, they're pretty easy to spot, just like the red light cameras, but it doesn't seem to always stop. It's a deterrent, but I think that, not to get off topic, but talking to some chiefs in our surrounding jurisdictions, stop sign cameras really do see a reduction in violations because they're not on state highways, they're on neighborhood streets. And I think, you might even see a reduction in cut through traffic as well.
I know I was up in Berwyn Heights and they have posted, I can't remember exactly what it said, but there are labels on the stop signs that there's automated enforcement. I always stop at stop signs, but I definitely stopped and counted 3 at each one of those. Will ours be marked on the stop signs?
Rob,
I don't think they'll be marked on the stop sign themselves. There'll be signage. I think we're going to put it up as you enter the town as well. So,
Okay.
so obviously, just to let everyone know that, we support automated enforcement and that we want you to think there's one at every stop sign.
exactly.
Okay, that works.
Yeah,
I just
I would think I'm sorry, Chief Turner.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that if you labeling seems to defeat the point because really you want people to think, like you said that they're on everyone, right? And not that people can tell in daylight by looking at them necessarily, but so yeah, I with Dan, along with Dan, I think there's some interest in some particular, like, probably locations that we probably all have. But so good that you're reaching out to the community at large too, to see what if they have thoughts. It
Yes,
seems like a lot of the cut through traffic is maybe a good would also be a good thing to target because of I know that they always say that the people who speed through your town are your neighbors, but I'm pretty convinced that a lot of the folks that are speeding down a lot of our streets are people who are trying to make time and cutting through the town to do it. So slowing them down a little bit with a little bit of that type of enforcement would probably be a very welcome thing from townspeople.
And I agree. And I do know that if we have a camera up at a certain location and it proves to be enough of a deterrent where we're not enforcing it anymore, we won't remove the camera. It'll stay there even though it's not active. So they're fairly cheap and portable, so they can just put up a new pole and a new camera. They're solar, so they don't need to move them. So hopefully that'll remain a deterrent even if it's not active.
That makes it more fun. Okay, thank you so much. Now you have a summary of the enforcement. Is that
Sure,
separate?
on the stop
Red
sign
item?
cameras,
Yes,
Or
So-
the
or
red
the
light.
red light.
a red light. Sorry, red light. I apologize. I'm a little under the weather. So
Good.
we went live with our red light cameras on July the 1st at 2 locations. It's Queensbury Road at Baltimore Avenue and East-West Highway at Taylor. In the 4 months, we've seen a significant amount of violations, with the majority of those violations being operators making a right turn on red without stopping. And we've seen a significant number of inquiries from our violators through telephone calls and emails, claiming that they stopped, that, when we stop letting people make a right on red. But what we quickly learn is there's a video that comes with the violation. And as soon as we educate them on how to watch the video, we even got an apology email recently, which never happens. So most people, once they see what they did, they understand. We recently went to had our first court hearing at District Court in Hyattsville. It was a local judge, I believe, that lives in University Park. So he was pretty lenient, letting everyone know that since the cameras were new, he had received one himself that he had paid. And we really are surprised in the questions that we're getting on the right turn on red, that everyone should know that unless there's a sign, you can make a right on red after you make a complete stop. So the camera at Queensberry and 1 is particularly troubling, but because people are trying to beat the light, making a right on red, turning into a crosswalk, which we have some videos of some pretty scary violations. So we're hoping we're through the first quarter that we're hoping we'll start to see a decrease in violations. So far, we have not, but you got to remember that sometimes it takes a month and a half, before people start seeing their citations, and then before they get a court date, before they pay them. Some people ignore them they go to renew their license plates. So I believe in the second half of the year, we'll probably see a reduction in some of these violations, but we're averaging somewhere around between the two cameras, a little over 2,000 citations a month.
Wow. So I think it would be helpful, and this is something I harp about at work, to get some public information out there.
And we have.
Okay. I don't remember seeing it. I mean, we almost need to put something in your face sort of stuff. Would you be interested in talking to the reporter for the Hyattsville Times or whatever it is?
Well, I think that's something that I would ask Jessica, who handles the town's communications, to work with staff leadership on specific outreach and how we get our message out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I do know we put it out each time we do the stash information. It's on the updates that come out weekly, and it's also been in the crier. So and we've fielded a lot of phone calls and emails as well to help educate.
Okay.
Is there a way to, or is it already, kind of some sort of signing that says that this is effectively a video enforced intersection, a red light running intersection?
Yes.
It is signed. Okay.
Yeah, there are large signs prior to each intersection that show a red light camera enforcement. I mean, they're large.
And the videos are really telling. And Chief, correct me if I missed something here, but the really positive thing about how automated enforcement for red lights is it's a video. And as opposed to still shots that are taken with speed enforcement. And so, as the chief mentioned, when people realize they just click on a link and they can watch themselves drive and say, oh my, I didn't slow down. I didn't stop. There was a person in that crosswalk. And the chief mentioned this email. I was copied on that, and because the person who had received a ticket had threatened to not come to our town anymore, and I'm going to stay away from business, this, that, and the other. And then they apologized and said, my husband watched the video and said, oh, I did that. And sorry, and we will continue to be back and continue to patronize, and we love Riverdale Park. And I mean, they couldn't say enough in apology for initially taking a stand saying that we were wrong, but when they saw the video, they recognized that all we're trying to do is have people be safe. It's a good learning tool.
It's good to hear.
They love it enough to buy some apartment buildings.
If our ethics laws allowed us to discuss that now, we could have that conversation, but we could have that separately.
I want to encourage that kind of love.
Okay.
It would be interesting if we could get some videos that did, where you couldn't identify the cars or people as local. I wonder if the company has demo videos that get those out kind of as a public information.
Madam Chair, we are working on that. I think it would be very educational to see some of these videos. I think we would all be shocked. So it would be, that's what we're working on, a way to pull those together and a way to educate the community.
Is the privacy restriction, does that cut both ways? Does that make it harder to use those for educational purposes too? The restrictions on using the images from automated enforcement that we were talking about with the stop sign cameras, does that potentially make it harder? Yeah.
I think so, and we have to work through that, and any tag would have to be blurred, anything that may identify the vehicle, or if you could see the occupants, we could run afoul of that. So we have to be real careful.
I think it would be a helpful educational tool. I was more curious because I think when I was looking at the privacy legislation, I know College Park posted the pilot for their stop sign camera, and it was appalling to see some of the images, but I wasn't sure if the privacy laws would prohibit that now. And Chief Turner, it's not data, but just anecdotally, I've had 2 neighbors mention that they got tickets there, and their comment was just they will never do that again. So I do think it has a pretty strong deterrent effect. And then when I used to walk to the Hyattsville Crossing metro station, that intersection was always really terrifying to cross because no one stops when they're making rights on red, even on Baltimore Avenue. And there's multiple times where drivers looking right at me, I thought I was safe to go and then felt like I was about to get run over. So I appreciate you all doing something to make it a little bit safer to get across the street there.
Absolutely, and that's why we selected that location.
Has Apple Maps or Google Maps picked up on the fact that there's a red light camera there?
I don't know. I'm sure they have, but it doesn't seem to. I mean, it picks up our speed cameras as well, so which is great. We want people to.
Yeah, that's what I was
fly,
wondering.
right?
I think Waze does that more, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
but it's okay because we want compliance. So
right. Well, thank you. Very informative.
you're welcome.
Okay, so agenda item 3, the 2027 walk, bike, drive budget priorities.
So, and Jess chime in here, and I'm under the weather tonight too, so just a little chills and mild fever. But there's lots of stuff going around. But it's budget time. And so what we would like to do is to know whether or not this group has ideas and for projects that we can consider for fiscal 27, or perhaps just design in 27 and projects in 28. I will say that our funding plan for the town center area projects is reliant, at least in part, on the walk, bike, drive funds. So as you see in the fiscal 26 budget, we currently have funds that we've transferred over to those projects. So we just we're trying to build that up over at least 2 fiscal years. And but if you have ideas tonight, or if you're thinking about it over the weekend, whenever it is, please just send us an email and let us know what your thoughts are as it relates to walk, bike, drive related projects in the town.
Can you give us an idea of the amount of money we're talking about, or there's some discretion still?
Well, we don't know how much we're talking about. So part of this next phase of the town center area projects, we'll be able to start to look at dollars a little bit more as things come to sharper focus. So that'll give us an understanding of how much we need for those projects. We do have 850,000 in state money for the trolley trail, the west side of the tracks, but the east side of the tracks is being funded locally, and so we have to figure that out, and then the external audit is currently being conducted. We go through this process every fall. And then once we have the external audit completed, we'll have a better understanding of how we finished the end of fiscal 25. And that will assist us in informing how much money we have that can be moved towards projects. But I won't have that number for a couple more months.
Okay, thank you.
Would you prefer suggestions now, or send an email with stuff later?
It's however the individuals or group wants to weigh in.
I will probably take a look at, because I know you all have budgeted for a lot of different projects, and so I sometimes have a hard time remembering what's in the capital improvement program and what we've discussed before. But a couple of categories of things that have just come up in conversation. I'm not strongly advocating for any of these in any particular priority, but I know Melissa's brought up before, like an ADA plan, and
Yep.
I think it would be really helpful if we had something with that. And I know Melissa's an expert in this area, and just relying on her expertise to kind of taking advantage of that to help drive that, I think would be really worthwhile for the town. She's pointed out a lot of stuff that I just, in my day-to-day, have never really noticed. And then now that I see it, it's hard to kind of ignore. And it's, I imagine for a lot of our neighbors, really frustrating not to be able to move through town the way they would like. So I think that would be a very high priority. During one of the meetings around Natoli Place and Town Center, there was some conversation around potentially doing some sort of parking management study to have an overall kind of plan for parking, or particularly in Town Center, but just I think broader policies in the town in general. And so that seemed like a good idea. Something else that a neighbor had brought up, and I think I may have referenced this earlier in the email suggestion too, is just some of the other municipalities have adopted kind of online 311 systems where you can report things. And so rather than using the safety mailbox, having it online, and that way neighbors can see when stuff's posted, and they don't necessarily have to keep adding the same thing. And then also I think it allows council members to kind of see what's happening in their district. And so I don't know how much those cost, but it does seem like a pretty handy tool for that sort of thing. And then I think it was in the capital improvement program, but the Queensbury connector trail, or the plan to connect kind of Queensbury through the elementary school, or the field behind the elementary school to the trail. If that's not in there, that's another project. Just walking through there the other day and watching kids kind of walk through after school, it seemed like would be really helpful. And
Yeah,
I'll
so
stop at that.
Well, that's all good stuff, Dan, and thank you. And we started working with MNCPPC on that connecting trail, and we still want to see that happen. That's their property at the end there.
Okay.
And so we have to coordinate with them both on funding and design. The town has an expired agreement with them for us to maintain it. We're continuing to maintain the area. But we're also renegotiating our agreements with MNCPPC.
If I could just add, the bigger issue for us on that project was going through the county's permitting process for the trail or walkway material. We had a good idea that they rejected. And so rather than hold up the project, we decided to sort of table that until a later time.
Thanks, Ivy.
My understanding is that the elementary school is actually on a list to be replaced or
We don't
rebuilt.
have any public information on that.
Okay. Because that might impact if they're gonna mess with that site, whether or not, to do the trail or might have some influence. Okay. Thank you, Dan, for bringing up ADA transition plans.
And Madam Chair, that's on our list.
So offline, we can talk about a cheaper, more efficient, more effective way to do it than the standard way
Sure.
that everyone does it.
Sure. We would appreciate that.
And another thing that I don't know if we have a pedestrian plan where we look at origins and destinations and identify the priority corridors where we see more pedestrians. Like we know that there are tons of people walking to the schools and up and down Lafayette through the farmers market and between Whole Foods, and there are different corridors that just get more traffic than others. Taylor Street walking up to the school. Do we have an actual town plan?
In terms of understanding how pedestrians use the infrastructure and pedestrian counts and all that sort of thing?
Well, and to help us prioritize where to spend the money.
Yeah, so in terms of priority, right now it's safe walk to school, and then ensuring that we're having infill sidewalks to have a more complete sidewalk. So those are our priorities because we have streets with no sidewalks.
Right.
And so that's where we're focused. In terms of pedestrian counts and that, that's something that I think we'll continue to look into. We were looking at a vendor who would provide us with information that would have included information like that based on cell phone data. But there were lots of privacy concerns about the town participating in that. And it's one of those things where as we get a more complete sidewalk network, I think having a plan is optimal. But right now, we're trying to figure out how we're going to fund communities that don't have, or neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks. Casada, Quintana, Patterson, 54th, all north of 410. We've tried to get earmarks from the federal government. We've tried, bond bill funds. We've requested bond bills for that project for the past. Ivy or Jessica, has that two or three cycles we've asked for funding for that neighborhood?
At least two.
We've tried most recently to see if we could make numbers work to use community development block grant funds, but the census tract there is not a qualified census tract. We had a meeting on that today, but that project in that neighborhood, that's going to be many hundreds of thousands of dollars. They need lights, they need sidewalks. So in terms of priorities, we have priorities. Is it reduced to a planning document? It's not, but our priorities are safe walk to schools and completing the sidewalk network where they don't exist.
Okay. But then how do you even prioritize among those particular items?
By funding availability.
Okay.
So if we have a list, then we have to look at it and say, well, what can we actually fund? And in the case of Quintana, Casada, and Patterson, we're now looking at phasing the projects. So it's like, well, we can't take this on across the board, but can we phase and can we do this over the course of several budget cycles? And then in the midst of that, I see Mr. Phipps is here this evening. And Madam Chair, if I can have a little leeway, we've been talking with Mr. Phipps about a missing sidewalk on state property along East-West Highway from Taylor to 49th. And that's something the town's been asking the state to handle for 20 years. And we haven't gotten there. But there are, as we understand it, students from Riverdale Elementary that are that reside in that block. And so we've met with the principal, we've met with the Prince George's County Public School System Safe Passage Coordinator. Was that their title, Jessica?
I believe so.
And right now, I have the town's finance staff looking at whether or not we can make something happen there. But it's a serious concern that school students have to walk. If you look along that block, the next time you make a left on Taylor or left on East-West from Taylor, there's nothing there. You have about 14 inches between the solid white line and the curb. And there's big trees right there at the tax business. So that's a high priority. It's not ours, but we have to try to work with the state and figure that out. And I shared this with the mayor and council last week after this was brought to our attention. And the town very well may have to figure out how to fund this project wholly, because I'm not sure if the state's going to be able to do this now. And it's something that, so priorities have to shift. Mr. Phipps, is that a fair representation of what we've discussed? Oh, you're muted, sir.
That is correct. That is correct. I think you did a good representation there of what's going on. I gotta say that more neighbors are adding to the list now. More of the neighbor living on that area are asking me questions since I brought it up, and I've been talking to some of them. So it's good news that you brought it up tonight. So I'll share that information with them so they know that we are trying to do something.
Yes,
Mhm.
and we'll figure this one out.
Yeah.
But so even when we try to plan and we try to project out to phase projects, then we have something like this come up. And the sidewalk along that area, we're waiting for the engineers to give us an estimate, but based upon other sidewalks that we've paid for, you're talking a couple $100,000.
Will working just on that one block?
It would solve the immediate problem, and it would provide a sidewalk that could take you from 49th to Taylor, installation of a new crosswalk going east on Taylor, and then you have a crosswalk going across East-West Highway. So you can make a connection there.
Okay. And there's no, this is not the ideal solution, but there's no way to get the families like around to walk on Ravenswood.
No, I don't believe so. There's no sidewalk on East-West Highway. So,
Yeah.
so they would have to walk in the street no matter which way they went. If you first had them go west, and then swing around, yeah, there's no sidewalk there.
Yeah, I didn't know how, I saw that image that Mr. Phipps sent out, and I wasn't sure which which property they might be coming and going from if there was
Yeah,
a
well,
between time way to make it work.
well, from our planning perspective and planning projects, we have to look at residency as a transitory condition. And so you may have someone living in the most eastwardly property today, but then 2 months from now, you may have students living in the property most westwardly.
Right.
So
Just kind of as an interim.
yeah, there's really no good solution here other than putting in a sidewalk.
Yeah, Melissa,
And-
were you talking about just encouraging people to go north to Ravenswood and
Yeah.
take that over to Taylor as a safer,
Yeah.
just in the end? I mean, obviously there's there's a sidewalk needed there. There's absolutely
Right.
no question, about that. It's just more of the, yeah, some of the stuff that I was seeing on this in the email chain, it was, it sounded pretty dangerous, and I think this is a good place to spend a lot of, spend effort and town money if that's required. But Melissa, that was what you were kind of referring to?
Yeah, just kind of as a temporary, this will get you by. We're really working on this. Jessica, did you have that screen share up? Was that? Can you look at the aerial? Is there an alley?
Yeah, there's no alley or sidewalks on that block. So if you kind of look at the picture that I sent out,
Yeah.
there's no sidewalk on Eastway Highway. There's no sidewalk on that block on Taylor Road and 49. There is no sidewalk all around it. The only sidewalk it's literally on my street, which is Ravenwood Road. But in order for them to get around, they won't be able to. There is no sidewalk. The only sidewalk on that block it's on Ravenswood Road. But both sides, Taylor and 49 and Eastway Highway, do not have a sidewalk. So and for them to even cross those streets, there is no like pedestrian like mark for anything like that, because since there is no sidewalk, there is no mark or anything like that, so which makes it even more danger. Even for the crossing guard that are working there in the morning during the school hours, it's kind of dangerous because people tend not to turn on that, or slow down on that street, especially when they come in on Eastway Highway and turning into Taylor, because there is no mark on the like a pedestrian's sideway or way or crosswalk. There people tend not to kind of slow down, and that corner right there is just a very dangerous corner because the sidewalk is not even that wide. So we literally have to like stand in a line in order to kind of for us to stay away from the streets because of the sidewalk. So that's a very dangerous corner to be at, even on the sidewalk.
I cross back and forth across there sometimes when I walk in the mornings, and it is dangerous. I agree, and I wouldn't want to walk across there. I was just looking at the aerial, and it looks like there's either a very long driveway or an alley, and it might just be a long driveway.
Yeah,
That one. Yes.
The town doesn't have any public way there.
Okay. Okay. Maybe friendly neighbors that would let you pass, but okay.
So I hope that answers your question about how we set priorities. We're looking at walks to school and having a complete sidewalk system. And we are phasing projects, and priorities run into budget realities, and we see what we're able to get done. And staff make those recommendations then.
So is there any interest in involving our other political support system, like our representatives from the county, or
In terms of that sidewalk issue?
yeah,
So at the council meeting, I addressed this issue with the council, and Mayor Inyang's on the meeting tonight, and he and I agreed that we'll discuss this, and so I would imagine there's going to be some outreach on the political side. So that will be occurring, but I will say that the town has asked for sidewalks on East-West Highway for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
I know former Mayor Thompson has talked about it for that long. And I know in my 9 years here, we've made request to the state to make this a priority. And they may be running into some funding issues and realities, because the same as we have to phase projects and look at where we have available funds, the state's doing the same.
Right.
And that's why, as a backup, we're going to examine what it is that we can do, hopefully in part, not in whole, but we're working with our engineers to get a cost estimate of what this would take.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen people trying to get across the bridge on East-West, the river bridge on East-West Highway on foot, and that's just scary.
Certainly is.
I was just going to jump in and say I kind of echo a lot of the concerns that that Dan had raised and that Melissa had raised, and but I think I would like to maybe give this a little bit more thought and get back to y'all on suggestions, because gotta admit I don't feel very prepared right now to give you recommendations.
Well, and this is just to begin the conversation. And so we'll be publishing the budget calendar at the end of the month, or early. It's at the end of the month, just the 24th.
The end of the month, yes.
And so, but every year we have about 15 public meetings, mayor and council meetings, where we discuss the budget and people can provide input. And then there's budget public hearings. But the formation of the CIP budget, we really have to have a good understanding of what we're asking for sometime in January, latest February, because I have to present a balanced budget to the mayor and council the first week of April.
I do have a kind of related, a question related to something that Dan brought up previously, and I think this, I hope this is not taking us too far off tangent, but it is a little confusing as to exactly what is being planned at the intersection by the funeral home at Cleveland and Madison. The sidewalk work that was done there at the end of the at the corner, I guess the issue is that and it looks like there's some repaving that's likely going to happen there, maybe some striping, some sidewalk striping, but it's kind of unclear exactly what the plan was to make that that intersection is extremely strange, right? It's a strange intersection. It's got several movements that happen actually in the intersection with no striping, no control. It's just, there's a lot of the movement from Cleveland to Route 1 is a bit, there's no pedestrian crossings there, although kids actually walking from the train going to DeMatha actually cross there right across the street. People speed through there. It's cut through. I just didn't know if there was like some grand scheme of how that intersection was going to, whether we were going to be doing something as a town to make that work better. I know that there's been discussions of like kind of rationalizing it a bit so that it's not as just wide open stretch of asphalt, and maybe trying to right angle the intersection. And Dan had brought up, kind of providing a little bit more structure and daylighting as part of that. And so I didn't know if there was like something planned for that.
So-
But I was, because I think that there's some just interest there.
Great. So Ivy, do we have a schematic that shows any work that we're doing there?
Let me look for it.
Well, and you don't have to find it right now, but if we have a schematic, let's make it available to this group.
Sure.
Yeah, that would
And-
be helpful. Thank you.
Yep. And then if you have thoughts and stuff, Mike, on or the group on other things that we can do that may not be included in that schematic, then we certainly can work with engineers on that.
Is that development is that still in kind of a limbo state?
Yeah, the information that we have that's public is that the folks that bought that and put together a development plan, they're marketing the plan. So they're looking for an investor or to either invest in their efforts or to buy their plan and then build it and own it. And in this environment, I seriously doubt we're going to see any shovels in the ground there in the next 3 years.
So I was at I think it was a legislative meeting, and there were several community members from up near this, I think it's Silkwood area,
Silktree.
Silktree. That neighborhood they seem to have a lot of neighbors with concerns about safety. Did the town do anything to follow up on their concerns, or?
Absolutely. So we've been working with the residents directly, as well as working with Councilmember Worsnop. And Director Lewis has walked there's 3 streets with one of our engineers. And I've gone out and I didn't walk the streets, but I did a slow roll through the 3 streets, and we've identified some sidewalk issues that they are valid concerns. There are sidewalks that were ground down that people don't like the appearance of. And we're evaluating the road surfaces to determine whether or not something other than the crack seal that we had done previous is in order. Our preliminary findings are that we need to invest some up in there in terms of their roadways. We don't have a plan for that yet. It'll be a consideration for fiscal 27.
Okay. I just didn't want that to fall off the radar because they seemed kind of frustrated.
Yeah, it has not fallen off the radar, and I think the town staff and the council do a pretty good job in taking residents' concerns seriously, and we always follow up. At the end of the day, something may not be funded, or it may be a solution that is short of what any resident would like. But we take all concerns seriously, and we make sure we follow up.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I've lost my.
I just dropped a quick chat. I just want to thank Andy for bringing up that issue with the sidewalk, because I mean, as soon as he pointed out, it was obvious, but I don't think it was something that everyone was aware of, even if it's been an issue that town's been pushing for a long time. And it definitely is really dangerous and terrifying to think of little kids walking along that section of road.
Yep.
So hopefully, New Energy can get it to resolution and appreciate it being included in some of the town's priorities.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay. It looks like we are ready to move on to discussion item number 4. Summary of requests and responses from the safety email address. And I think Jessica, you sent that out today in an email.
I did, and I can pull that up on the screen now to walk through. So the last time I could find that we talked about this was around this time last year. And so this is a compilation of the different emails that have come in just to the safety email address, just focusing on the safety email address and the responses from town staff. In a few of the occasions, staff referred the matter to a different party. So maybe for the, I'm sorry, just one second so I can pull that up. I thought I could talk and do it at the same time. My apologies. Let me pull that up for you. In some cases, staff referred the matter to, for example, KFRITS. In a couple of the occasions. We had one specifically that had to do with the Purple Line. We've had a variety of different items that have been covered in different ways. For example, curb stops have been replaced. And Director Lewis provided quite a bit of information about whether some of these items will be included in the road improvement projects or potentially considered for a Safe Street for All quick build project. Signs that have come down were replaced. So this is just an overview of the concerns that, again, had come in through the safety email address, starting, I think, back in November, December of last year. There were a couple of items that were noted that, especially in Riverdale Park Station, that the homeowners association actually owned certain areas and they were responsible for those items. Crosswalks have been repainted. I think this is a pretty thorough list of what came into the safety email and a response from the staff members that were assigned those issues to address.
So I think I was planning on following up with the Blue Bear clause up at KFRITS, and I have not done that. So I will do that. There was something else.
We did have one issue towards the top of the list that the concern was a little bit vague, and we reached back out to the requester just for a little bit more information, and we did not get a response back. Other than that, you know, I think everything has been addressed in one way, shape, or form. And it's a lengthy list. I know that there may be questions after the meeting if after you've had time to maybe review this. Again, don't hesitate to reach out if you had follow-up questions for any of these items reported.
I was just going to say that's a pretty short list for a whole year.
We had a few email threads that had several items in it, so I tried to pick out the highlights of the items that were addressed.
Yeah.
A couple duplicates here and there. You know, I did notice that we had gotten fewer emails and fewer safety related emails, but sometimes folks send them in through reported concerns or direct emails to staff. So this is just, again, the safety email address and the emails that have come in, but it's in no way a reflection of all of the concerns that we've addressed over the course of the last year.
Well, that's good. Because I know I recognize several of these as coming from people on our committee here.
Yep. And we appreciate every single one of these, every single item that's reported. It really helps to have folks that are tied in and really concerned about these items. So
I had a question, Jessica, about one of the items, which is the yellow chains around the sidewalk at Town Center. It's still kind of, it baffles me a bit still, and it's a bit unsightly. So I know that that may not be our right of way, or it said that it had been addressed. Could y'all describe what was done to address it? Because they're kind of they're still there.
Jessica, can you clarify for me where this is?
It's in Town Center, right around the dining areas that are set up. I think it's right outside of
Yeah.
Riviera.
Yeah,
If I
Riviera.
recall correctly, there was outreach made, I think, to the businesses through neighborhood services. I'd have to confirm that. But I think that was one thing that we had talked about doing internally.
And not all, and I'd have to look at the survey, but not all of this. You're talking about on the south side, or well, the
On the-
north side of Queensbury.
On the
Yes, the north side of Queensbury there. So some of that is private property and it's not a public way. So I'll get back with Ryan on that. And so it may be that that's on the private property section, even though it looks like it's all sidewalk there. That's not all sidewalk there.
So if I write an email, will you move the flower pot that's blocking the actual sidewalk?
Well, I don't think you have to write an email if you have a concern about.
Yeah, so those things are movable. So a lot of times they get bumped, and then they're
Yeah.
in the actual public right, what should be the
Yeah.
public rights of way, and
Gotcha.
and it's also there's no there's nothing that people with vision disabilities, they would not know that the chains are there. They would walk right into them because it's a continuation of what is kind of a public, whether it's private property, it's still part of a continuance of a public space, right? People are and so there's all kinds of issues kind of with it, and it shuts down access around the corner, and
Yeah.
and it seems like just for the beautification of the town and just the management of it seems like some outreach to try. I mean, if they want to formalize an outdoor seating space, that's great, but maybe some other type of barriers would or something else would work probably better. I'm
Gotcha.
just I've seen people go in there and then they can't get out, and they have to go back and they walk around it, and it shuts the space down so that
Gotcha.
market days, it's an odd thing to do, and it's been up there for a long time, and I'm just wondering whether there's something planned there, or if it's just going to continue to be yellow chains.
Yeah. So I think our way to look at this with your further explanation, Mike, is to talk to the LMUTC committee once we verify where the property line is, because if it's on private property, then I think that falls within their jurisdiction. We also have to look to the county regulations as it relates to sidewalk cafes, because the county has guidance on the types of barriers and that are permitted and those that are not. So,
and I want to be clear, I want them to have outdoor seating. That's not the issue. It's more of the management of the space and keeping it kind of, it's just not clear kind of where and plus the barriers are movable. And so I think getting to Melissa's point, the planners often end up in the sidewalk, and there are kind of issues that do involve our public right of way.
Gotcha. So we'll take another look at that, Mike, take a look at it from a broader perspective, and we'll get back to the group.
Thank you.
And somebody
Thank-
please
thank you,
move
sir.
that flower pot that's sitting right in the middle of the clearly
All right.
public
Uh,
sidewalk. I almost tried to get my daughter to help
Ivy,
me. Just move it
Ivy,
into the driving lane.
if you can make a note.
I
and-
have that noted already. Yep.
I have it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Public comments. Does anybody want to talk about the stop signs on the trolley trail up at K Fritz?
It is. Okay.
There are new stop signs on the shared use path
Yep.
where the trolley trail crosses, I don't know what road it is, up there directly
Woodbury.
across from the bridge. Yeah. What caused those to be put there?
The town had those installed. And the town had those installed because people were coming across the trolley trail and leaving the sidewalks very quickly. And cars were already starting to go. So vehicles that were stopping at stop signs already starting to go, and people were going out in front of those cars, whether on their bikes or on foot or pushing baby strollers. We had a number of near accidents there.
I'd like to recommend those as good spots for stop sign cameras and it's anecdotal, but my experience is often drivers are not actually stopping at those stop signs, so they may feel like they are proceeding after stopping. But what I've found is oftentimes those interactions that I've had, somebody is rolling that stop sign,
Yep.
and they almost hit me, and then they come to a complete stop. And I am not the fastest person, but I've seen people jogging across the trail. I've seen people with strollers, and there are cars that just will not stop until they're about to collide. So I will admittedly was a little irritated by the addition of the stop signs because my perception of the problem is that drivers are not stopping. I get we need to control people crossing the trail as well to advise them to be safe, but to me it almost felt like the issue was we're trying to address drivers running the stop signs by asking people walking and biking to stop and wait for those drivers to cross through.
Yeah.
I know that's not the intent, but that's what it feels like using the trail.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I feel like you could put a camera there and just count the number of drivers that are actually stopping. Also, that's another area where people are the Van Buren heading east direction. They're looking left to see if they have a break in traffic, and they're not looking for any of the trail users. And it's similar to the Queensbury red light camera where people are just rolling those turns as well. So again, if there's an option to add stop sign cameras, I think that would be good locations. It's also a route that a lot of the College Park Academy students are using to commute back from school, and it'd be good to see less conflict there as well.
Great. Yeah. And so it was not designed to give people or vehicle drivers a pass. We actually had some complaints about people almost being hit, and when the police reviewed video that was supplied to us, the cars were stopping, and then people just coming out of the trail, not even slowing down. And so when you're going westbound on Woodbury, the stop sign is back a little ways from the trail. They'd come to a stop, they'd start to move forward, and folks were just coming right out in front of them. And that's a problem. Dan, admittedly, I think you know more about bicycle safety and pedestrian safety than I do. But I did some reading, and it seems that Maryland's a state where pedestrians aren't even required to stop before they step into a street. Growing up in the inner city, we were always taught to stop look both ways, make eye contact with the driver and then cross. Um,
Well, I could go on forever, so I'll try to be short, but I will just say, that's another part of it's a little confusing. So I actually did stop on my bike when I was came across them the first time, and had pedestrians that were just bewildered and stopping around me because, it's not natural
Yeah.
for pedestrians to stop where there's no cross traffic. And so like the coast is clear, I am now obligated to stop on my bike. I can't treat it as a yields sign. And if my other concern is just around kind of just shifting liability around. So like now if I'm on my bike and I, don't come to a complete stop and a driver runs a stop sign, they can argue that, I'm partially at fault. And now Maryland being a contributory negligence state, driver bears no responsibility for any damages they create. So I get the intent. It just feels like it's shifting the responsibility to the wrong parties to stop and yield in that situation. So
are there stop signs in College Park where the trail crosses roads?
there are, and I think in those cases though, a lot of them the drivers don't have stop signs at all. So the trail user is required to stop, the drivers are not. And I think some of those are because of where the intersections are. Drivers are just passing through one stop sign and they're immediately hitting the trolley trail. So they'd have to stop in the intersection to stop for the trail. So it's a little bit different configuration.
Okay.
And also like Riverdale Park, I know we have some stop signs in some unusual places and other places like down by Madison Street. There's a stop sign for the curb ramp to cross where the Madison Street kind of curves around towards Harrison. Which again, I don't know who that was directed towards, but I guess it's pedestrians should stop before they enter the crosswalk for drivers that are coming around. So I mean, there's other examples throughout town where there are stop signs for pedestrians and cyclists. It's just
Yeah, and you're saying on the trail at Madison.
so yeah, on where Madison kind of does that
Yeah.
J turn, there's like some trash cans and the curb
Mhm.
ramp there to cross the street. There's a marked crosswalk to get across Madison Street. There is a stop sign that's like 8 feet off the ground. So again, I'm not sure a pedestrian would even see it, but
And
there's a
it's on
stop-
the trail side though.
It is on the trail side, yeah, for users.
Ivy, is that ours or did MNCPPC install that?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to
Okay.
look into that. Yeah.
And
But we were clearly intentional at Woodbury, because we've
Yeah.
seen bikes not pause at all during the walk and talk in that community earlier this year. The biker just flew through without stopping, without pausing. So we actually thought that was a safety measure for bicyclists. Do you have any ideas or suggestions, Dan, as to how we can improve safety there without a stop sign?
I mean, so I think if your goal is to get people to slow down, I think a sign is probably not going to be the most effective thing. Like I think
We want them to stop, not just slow down.
yes,
To John's
so-
point about that stop sign being set back some ways from the bike crossing, they look and I'm sure you saw the video of a vehicle and a biker colliding right there. Neither was looking where they needed to, and the biker did not slow down.
Yeah, I do recall that video. Yeah, again, I get the intent. I just, in way people are going to use it, I'm just not sure it will have the desired outcome. And again, I think I still, at least based on my own probably biased experience, and just have experienced more of the flip situation where I'm slamming on my brakes or stopping from walking into the crosswalk because the driver's running the stop sign there. I know you all added more colorful markings for the crosswalk and have tried some other things there, so I appreciate you all doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I may be just skeptical that folks are when I stopped, people were asking me what I was doing, and then I was pointing out the new stop signs. And like, again, I don't think any other person that was there was like 3 pedestrians and another cyclist even had noticed that they were there. So maybe that will change with time.
Well,
Yeah, and
Yeah, we have a sign
I think trail users also have, there's, this gets back to like kind of people's perceptions of who should be the people who are basically advantaged in that situation, right? Who should be advantaged at that intersection? Because, and I think that a lot of bike ped users of trails often are trying to conserve some type of momentum, right? And this is the issue with cyclists, always being asked to come to a complete stop is a real issue, because then you have to stop and then you have to locomotively get yourself back going all the way again, and it requires a lot of effort, right? So I think that it might get people to slow down at those intersections. I don't think that you'll get a lot of stops because trail users have a perception that a trail is for trail users. And if you have a crossing that drivers advantaged with 2 tons of steel surrounding them should be the people who are who should be and have a greater sense of responsibility for the safety of others, because others are vulnerable users.
Okay.
And I do get why. So I'm not talking about that it wasn't justified or other things, but I'm just saying I'm talking about just from the user perspective. I'm not sure that this is going to probably have the desired result that we want. And I do think that the contributory negligence issue, it's a real sore point with peds and bikes, because it's not difficult to find a way to blame someone 1%. And so back to Dan's point, I think the issue is that I'm not sure where this lies in the continuum of our of where the priorities are, or I'm just not sure that but I get the intent, but I would kind of agree with Dan's concerns about the fact that I'm not sure that this is really going to kind of get people are probably not going to adhere to it in a great way. It might slow people down, but I don't see people coming to a complete stop on what they perceive as a multi-use trail and not, a roadway, right? And so that's just my point of view.
Well,
if I can ask a clarifying question of both Mike and Dan, do the stop signs make the intersection less safe?
I don't think they make it less safe. I just think it will shift liability away from drivers over to trail users that get hit in the intersection. So I think you're going to end up with similar results. It will just be who gets blamed for the crash. And then I also think there's I think part of my perception of the lack of driver compliance at that intersection is they feel like in most intersections, they feel like, I'm driving a larger vehicle, you should yield for me. And I think that trails are one of the places where hopefully that's not the case. And this undermines that to some extent. And then it's tangential, but I will just point out, like with our conversations around Riverdale Road and Lafayette, and then I think some of the other projects around town, like where the crosswalks are at 46 and Beale, I think there were requests for stop signs there as well. And, those were areas where the engineer said it wasn't warranted to add stop signs. So we're not adding stop signs at crosswalks where people are trying to cross streets, but we are adding them for bikes and pedestrians trying to cross a street on a trail. It just, again, I don't need to argue this or discuss this at length. I'm just
well, I have a question too. So it occurred to me, should we have warning signs for motorists? I mean, maybe bring their attention to the fact that they're about to cross a bike crossing.
I just feel like I feel like we're
I guess we're saying we think we need something else there
yeah.
to improve safety. And if it's not a stop sign, I'm wondering, should it be signs coming from in both directions, warning motorists that there's a crossing, watch out? I mean, we have flashing signs. I mean, should we, use that approach?
Yeah, I don't know. And then I know Melissa's brought up inverted speed humps, and there's other things you might be able to do. I think that intersection's still lacking detectable crossings for visually impaired people. So I don't know if there's other things you could do physically at the crossing to encourage people to slow down as they cross the street.
It's a raised crossing there.
Yeah, there is a raised crossing there, I think. One more question, Dan, and we can take this offline, but I really do value the insight of all of you. And so it helps me to better understand what's the speed limit of bicyclists on that trail.
There is none that
All
I'm aware
right. Yeah, I don't think there is a speed limit. I know
there is if someone has a scooter. So electric bikes or scooters, I think MNC PPC has some sort of guidance on speeds.
Those scooters have governors, so whatever the governing speed on those is would be whatever the speed limit for the trail is, in theory.
Okay.
Yeah, the e-bikes, most of them are, the motor will cut out at 20 miles per hour. Some of them go faster than that, but I don't remember MNC PC's guidance offhand. But I know like Montgomery County has added like 15-mile-per-hour speed limits on some of their trails.
Okay.
They'll periodically go out and do enforcement and just pull over every person on a bike that's riding down the trail. And I know that's had mixed reactions as well. But
typically those are in areas that have that are really kind of heavily trafficked by trail users, where there have been collisions between bikes and peds, and there are people walking, with strollers, and the speed mismatch is an issue. I'm not sure that is something that is typically done to address the situation that we're talking about right now, which is basically, at grade, crossings where vehicles are crossing. Yeah, I mean, there are some trails that I've seen in the region that have 15-mile-per-hour speed limits. And then of course the trail around Artemisia, I think, has 12. It's an odd number.
Okay.
So
I think DC is doing a speed study on the Metropolitan Branch Trail, but to Mike's point, that's an area of high pedestrian and cyclist interaction. It's not crossing with motor vehicles. And I just Googled the MNC PPC's directive around e-bikes and scooters, mentions that they can go up to speeds up to 25 miles an hour. So I don't think that's really intended to be the limit. I think that's just to cap the type of devices that are allowed on the trails.
So where those stop signs have been added, as a driver, it's always concerning to me that I haven't missed a cyclist that's coming up to my right on the trail, that I haven't seen them. Even after you stop, if a cyclist is moving pretty quickly, they can kind of surprise you as you start to turn. But it sends mixed messages to pedestrians, because pedestrians should always have the right of way in a crosswalk. And I mean, that's kind of non-negotiable. And Maryland state law requires you to step into the street before cars are even required to stop for you, which is absurd, but that's the way it is. So there is right now there's a very timely discussion going on in the ITE listserv, which is the Institute of Transportation Engineers. We're not supposed to pass those things along outside of the membership, I don't think, but I've been saving them and watching them. I may just snip some of that out because it's a really good conversation. Some very well-respected people in the field basically say they don't stop. No, bicyclists will never stop at a stop sign on a trail. And it does create a less safe environment for everyone because you've got drivers who should be yielding at a crosswalk. Granted, bicyclists aren't pedestrians, but there's a lack of expectations on, like they said, who has the right of way here? But I will kind of snip out the big conversation parts and try to send those to Jessica from the ITE conversation, because it's interesting hearing the arguments on both sides. And this is kind of a closed forum where everybody expresses whatever thoughts they have. Some are from well-respected people, some of them are from grad students. So kind of a mix, but there's a lot to think about in trying to provide good treatment here.
Thank you all.
I just brought it up because I've heard a lot of comments on it once I went up.
We appreciate the feedback for sure and the insight.
I was not going to say anything, Melissa, because I was trying to make a more cogent argument. So I apologize for rambling on, but I had a lot of feelings about them, but not sure I have the best answer for what you could do instead.
Yeah. And I don't, but crossing, is it raised? It's not raised very much, because I'm thinking as a driver, it doesn't really, once I've decided to make a turn, it doesn't really impede me or slow me down. I'm more concerned about the bicyclist sneaking up beside me. And there are no detectable warnings after they did their repairs, and there's none on the other side. Just saying. Okay. Do we have other public member? Do we have any public members? We have Yendi.
I
Any?
think Yendi's on the committee, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, are you? I'm sorry. We're glad you're on our committee. Okay, with that, our next meeting looks like Monday, January 12th at 7 o'clock. And without any other conversations, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you, town staff, for all the work you put into this.
Yes, thank you all very much.
Thank you. I hope everyone who's feeling ill feels better.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Get well.
Thank you, everyone.
It's time for some more
Bye-bye.
Tylenol. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Yeah.